Possibilities. Good afternoon, all. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the State Department for Energy and her state corporations, I warmly welcome all participants to this consultative virtual meeting between the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service and the State Department for Energy. To begin with, I invite Diana Rotich to lead us in an opening prayer. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we come before you this afternoon for the gift of life that you have given us. We thank you for this meeting. As we start, pray for your wisdom, and pray that you're going to be with us throughout the meeting. We thank you and we glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Madam Diana. Allow me now to acknowledge the presence of our chief guest, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Mr. Alex Wachira, the Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Mr. Ada Osea, chairs, board members, and respective state corporations, the CEOs and MDs of our state corporations, other senior officers from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service and the State Department for Energy. And we deserve a very special welcome to each one of you, our invited participants who have logged into this meeting from all across the length and breadth of this country, whether individually or in groups. To ensure a smooth meeting, kindly observe the following protocols. Self-introduction, kindly introduce yourself in the chat section by indicating 1, your name, your designation, and the station or the county where you have joined from. This is a Zoom webinar that has extended to YouTube. You will note that this meeting is being held in a webinar format, and all participant microphones are currently switched off. For those who may wish to speak during the plenary session, kindly raise your hand, after which our technical team will enable your microphone. Questions and clarifications, participants are directed to use the Q&A function for questions that require response during the session. The chat section should primarily be used for introductions and brief comments. Please note that all materials, including the PowerPoint presentations made, the recording of this meeting, as well as speeches made by the chief guest and keynote speakers, will be shared after the meeting. Social media, you can also follow us on the social media pages, Felix Kosgei on Facebook, X, and TikTok. And here you spell Kosgei, K-O-S-K-E-I. I repeat, K-O-S-K-E-I for the Facebook, X, and TikTok. Also, you can get us on Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service on YouTube channel. And again, you are please urged to send pictures of you following this consultative meeting, whether alone or in groups, to WhatsApp number 0722 229 229. I repeat, share pictures of yourselves, either as a person or as a group from where you are following, to this number, WhatsApp number 0722 229 229. We will now proceed with the program. And to begin, I invite Mr. Otha Osia, CBS Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, to deliver his welcome remarks. Karibu, Mr. Osia.
Thank you, Ese. Our chief guest and convener, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Alex Wachira, all chairpersons of boards, members of boards, CEOs of institutions, senior officials, and staff from the State Department, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Otha Osia. I'm the Principal Administrative Secretary, Executive Office of the President. And Chief Guest, allow me to extend a warm welcome to all of us who are in this important engagement, which brings together leadership and staff of all cadres within the energy sector. This session forms part of the ongoing series of structured and consultative engagements across the public service. The Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service has been undertaking a deliberate and well-coordinated program of engagements aimed at strengthening coherence, reinforcing unity of purpose, and sharpening strategic focus across the entire public service. These engagements are anchored within the broader revitalization and re-energization agenda, a flagship reform initiative designed to consolidate gains made, deepen institutional alignment, and renew our collective commitment to disciplined, ethical, and results-driven service delivery. While this reform agenda spans the entire public service, it is recognized that different sectors face distinct operational realities. Accordingly, tailored engagements such as these are necessary to ensure that sector-specific challenges are addressed and that performance improvements are both measurable and sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to report that under the leadership of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, this reform agenda has gained significant traction across government. Extensive engagements have already been undertaken across multiple sectors, with encouraging levels of uptake and alignments emerging. This office has held consultations with the following: all regulatory authorities and agencies, all leaderships of public universities, including chancellors, vice chancellors, council members, deans, and registrars, all leaderships of all technical and vocational education and training institutions, including chairpersons of councils, boards, principals, deputy principals, and heads of departments. The office has also engaged all heads of human resource function across the public service, all public finance management officers, including heads of internal audit, finance officers, accountants, and procurement officers, all public officers of all cadres across all duty stations, both within and outside the borders of our country. The office has also engaged with the leadership of all research institutions with a consistent message conveyed. All national government administration officers, the leaderships of all public primary and secondary schools, all staff across all cadres in the health sector drawn from the national and county governments, all staff across all cadres in the water and sanitation sector drawn from both the national and county governments, all staff of all cadres within the security ecosystem, including the entire National Police Service, all staff of all cadres within the environment, climate and forestry ecosystem, all staff of cadres within the land sector. Within the course of this week, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service will extend these sector engagements to professionals across the roads and transport sectors. Today's focus on the State Department of Energy and institutions under the State Department is extremely important given the critical role these institutions play as citizen-focused entities. The energy sector must function effectively and set the standard for all other sectors. This is a critical sector given the central role it plays in powering economic growth, enabling industrialization, supporting investment, and ensuring reliable, affordable, and sustainable energy access for the benefit of the present and future generations. The ultimate objective is clear: to ensure that this revitalization and re-energization agenda permeates every level of governance and reaches every corner of the Republic, while embedding a culture of accountability, discipline, professionalism, results-oriented service delivery throughout the public service. Above all, we must ensure that our efforts translate into a lived and felt experience for our citizens. The people of Kenya must experience a public service that is responsive, that is efficient, that is compassionate, that is firmly aligned to their needs and aspirations. I therefore urge each one of us to take personal responsibility in cascading this message within our respective institutions. We must have additional separate meetings convened by the leaderships of our different institutions within the energy sector. The conversation and feedback sessions must continue at every level until the transformation we seek becomes visible, tangible, and undeniable. With those remarks, Chief Guest, allow me to invite the PS State Department of Energy, Mr. Alex Wachira, to make his remarks and invite you to give us the speech of the day. Welcome, Alex Wachira.
Thank you. Thank you, the Principal Administrative Secretary, Mr. Arthur Osia, the Head of Public Service, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the Honorable Felix Kosgei, board members present, CEOs of various entities, and the State Department staff from the State Department, and all staff joining us today. Good afternoon. It is my pleasure this afternoon to welcome you to this important engagement on the status and future direction of Kenya's energy sector. Indeed, I wish to sincerely thank the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service and the Office of the President for the continued leadership and support in driving the transformation of this critical sector and the civil service in general. Ladies and gentlemen, the energy sector remains a cornerstone of Kenya's socio-economic development agenda. It empowers our industries, supports businesses, improves the livelihoods of our citizens, as well as empowering our homes. Our vision is very clear: to provide clean, sustainable, affordable, and secure energy while safeguarding the environment. We have already made significant progress in the recent years. Our installed capacity now exceeds 3,200 megawatts, with our current peak demand now at 2,444.42 megawatts. And of this, we have 75% of our Kenya's population, equivalent to 10.2 million customers or households connected to the national grid. Ladies and gentlemen, these gains have been driven by key initiatives such as last mile connectivity program, expansion of the national grid, and investment in renewable energy, particularly geothermal development in Olkaria, Menengai, and now Paka. Today, renewable energy contributes to an impressive over 90% of our energy mix. Notably, we remain the leading geothermal energy producer in Africa and 7th in the world, now crossing 1,000 megawatts of generation from geothermal. We have also strengthened our policy and regulatory framework to enhance sector performance, not to mention that we do have a clean cooking agenda in where we want and aspire to move the 64% remaining of Kenya's population from using wood fuel and transition fuel to clean energy. However, we must address emerging challenges. One is rising demand in electricity, which is placing pressure on our reserve margins, while gaps in transmission and distribution infrastructure remain persistent. The integration of renewable energy to our grid, though beneficial, presents technical challenges affecting reliability of our supply. In addition, issues such as financing constraints, land-related issues continue to affect project implementation and grid expansion plans. Additionally, while electricity access has improved significantly, the adoption of clean cooking solutions remains slow, underscoring the need for targeted intervention. Ladies and gentlemen, despite these challenges, the sector presents immense opportunities. We have strong potential to expand our geothermal, hydro, solar, and wind energy, as well as explore nuclear power and emerging technologies such as smart grid, e-mobility, energy storage, and clean cooking. Regional power trades and private sector participation will also be key drivers of growth. As we move forward, our focus will be strengthening governance, mobilizing resources, building capacity, and addressing cross-cutting constraints that hinder service delivery. In conclusion, this meeting does provide an important platform to align our priorities, strengthen collaboration as we work towards a resilient, globally competitive energy sector. With continued support and coordinated action, we are confident in our ability to unlock the full potential of this sector. With those few remarks, ladies and gentlemen, let us be attentive, and let me take this opportunity to welcome the head of public service, the chief of staff and head of public service, the Honorable Felix Kosgei, to make his remarks. Let us look forward to a productive engagement. Thank you. Karibu, head of public service and chief of staff.
Thank you, PS Alex Wachira. Our PS Alex Wachira, Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, all chairpersons of boards, members of boards, and CEOs of institutions within the State Department, senior officials, and staff from the State Department, all distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. Let me begin by expressing my sincere and heartfelt appreciation to the men and women serving in the State Department for Energy and across all the institutions that keep this sector running. Yours is a unique and often underappreciated responsibility. When everything is working as it should, when the lights are on, when businesses are running, when hospitals are functioning, we rarely stop to think about the people behind it. Yet, the moment there is even the slightest disruption, attention immediately turns to you. This is the nature of your work, highly visible in moments of challenge, but often invisible in moments of success. What stands out is your responsiveness and commitment. Time and again, when faults occur or systems are strained, you swing into action, often at odd hours, in difficult conditions, and under immense pressure to restore normalcy. You work through the night, in the rain, and across long distances to ensure that outages are resolved and that the country continues to function. That level of dedication, discipline, and sense of duty does not go unnoticed. It deserves to be acknowledged openly. We also recognize that this sector demands both technical excellence and resilience. It requires constant vigilance, rapid response, and coordination across multiple institutions to keep a complex system stable and reliable. The progress we have made as a country in expanding access, strengthening infrastructure, and positioning ourselves as a leader in energy has been built on your expertise and your continued effort. For all this, we say thank you, not just for the milestones that are recorded, but for the countless unseen efforts that keep the system running every single day. Your work may not always be visible, but it is always essential and it is deeply valued. All programs, projects, and interventions within the energy sector must be firmly aligned with the government's development agenda and national priorities. The sector is a key enabler of economic transformation, and its actions must be directly support the bottom-up economic transformation agenda by driving industrial growth, supporting enterprises, and improving the quality of life for all Kenyans. This means delivering energy that is not only sufficient, but also affordable, reliable, and sustainable. The focus must remain on reducing the cost of power to households and businesses, expanding access in underserved areas, and ensuring that energy supply supports key sectors such as manufacturing, agriculture, health, and digital innovation. At the same time, the sector must continue to advance Kenya's leadership in clean and renewable energy, while ensuring that the investments are efficient, well coordinated, and deliver value for money. Every project undertaken must have a clear line of sight to national priorities, and every resource utilized must contribute meaningfully to economic growth and improved livelihoods. The energy sector must therefore operate with clarity of purpose, ensuring that all efforts are cohesive, targeted, and fully responsive to the government's agenda and the needs of the people. Ladies and gentlemen, as we recognize the progress made, we must confront directly and honestly the internal weaknesses within the energy sector that continue to undermine performance. These are not external constraints. They are inward-looking challenges rooted in conduct, systems, accountability, and they must be addressed decisively. The key concerns include, number one is collusion and corruption practices in procurement and operations. Processes that should be competitive and transparent are quietly predetermined. Specifications are tailored to favor specific contractors. Bids are influenced. Contracts are inflated beyond market value. In some cases, substandard work is knowingly accepted, leading to frequent breakdowns, repeated repairs, and ultimately high costs for government and consumers. The second item of concern is conflict of interest and undue influence in decision making. There are instances where officers participate in decisions where they have direct or indirect interest. These may involve favoring certain suppliers, fast-tracking specific projects, or influencing outcomes to benefit connected parties. Such practices distort priorities and divert resources away from where they are most needed. The third is weak enforcement of accountability and consequences. Audit queries are raised, reports are written, and issues are identified, yet little or no corrective action follows. Officers are transferred instead of being held accountable, and the same issues recur after a year. This creates a perception, and in some cases, a reality that there are no real consequences for non-performance or misconduct. And this is what has brought a lot of indiscipline in the sector. We have to take action for any infraction that has been committed by the officer. Number 4 is the deliberate delays and rent-seeking behavior. Processes that should take days or weeks are unnecessarily prolonged. Files are held, approvals are slowed down, and decisions are deferred to create opportunities for unofficial facilitation. This affects project timelines, increases costs, and frustrates both investors and the public. The fifth is manipulation of systems and data. Data on losses, outages, or project progress is sometimes altered, delayed, or selectively reported. This creates a false sense of performance and hides underlying problems. Without accurate data, leadership cannot make informed decisions, and inefficiencies remain unaddressed. The sixth is pure internal controls and oversight. Supervisory systems are not always robust enough to detect or prevent irregularities early. Checks and balances may exist on paper, but are not consistently enforced in practice, allowing issues to persist until they become major problems. The seventh is lack of ownership and responsibility. There is a tendency to shift responsibility rather than take it. When issues arise, they are attributed to the system, to other departments, or to external factors. Yet, every function within these sectors, officers entrusted with clear mandates, and those mandates must be owned fully. Ladies and gentlemen, at the center of everything we do in this sector is the Kenyan citizen. The true measure of our performance is not in reports or internal processes, but in the daily experiences of the people we serve. Citizens expect energy that is reliable, affordable, and accessible. They expect that when they switch on light, it works. They expect that power interruptions are rare, brief, and communicated clearly. They expect that the cost of electricity is fair and predictable, and that it does not place an undue burden on households, businesses trying to grow and create jobs. For businesses and industries, energy is not just a service. It is a cost of production. When power is expensive and unreliable, it affects competitiveness, discourages investments, and slows economic growth. For households, high energy costs directly impact the cost of living. These are real, everyday concerns that require practical and consistent solutions. Our responsibility, therefore, is not only to deliver the service, but also to communicate effectively and remain visible to the public. Too often, the sector is only heard from when there is a problem. This must change. Citizens should receive timely, accurate, and proactive communication on plant outages, ongoing works, system improvements, and expected timelines. Information must be clear, accessible, and consistent across all platforms. We must also increase the visibility of work being done. Let the efforts, investments, and improvement in the sector be seen and felt. When issues arise, we must speak promptly and honestly. When progress is made, we must communicate it confidently. Visibility builds trust, and trust strengthens the relationship between government and the people. This also means strengthening customer engagement. Complaints must be acknowledged and resolved within reasonable time. Feedback should not be ignored, but should inform improvements. Citizens should not struggle to access support or information. They should feel that the system is responsive, accountable, and working in their interest. For example, following the fuel price adjustments announced yesterday, it is expected that EPRA comes out clearly and promptly to help Kenyans understand these changes. When prices rise, citizens should not be left to speculate. They deserve clear, timely, and honest communication on why the increases have occurred, the factors driving them, and the measures in place to mitigate the impact. Regulation is not only about setting prices, it is about building public understanding, confidence, and trust. I therefore expect the authority to engage more proactively and ensure that these decisions are explained in a manner that is transparent, accessible, and grounded in the public interest. Ladies and gentlemen, having reflected on the expectation of the citizens we serve, we must now turn the focus inward to ourselves as public officers within the energy sector. The responsibility placed upon us is not ordinary. It demands the highest levels of professionalism, integrity, discipline, and unwavering commitment to service. This is the standard we must uphold consistently and without exception. As government, we are deliberately building a public service that is responsive, accountable, and result-driven, one that delivers energy services efficiently, reliably, and with integrity. This direction is clear and is not negotiable. It therefore requires each one of us to take honest and personal reflection on our role within this system and to align our conduct and performance accordingly. If you are committed to service, to professionalism, and delivering reliable and affordable energy to the people of Kenya, then this is your space, and you must step forward and perform to the highest standards. However, if one is not prepared to uphold these values, if one is unwilling to act with integrity, discipline, and accountability, then a deliberate decision must be made. This sector cannot carry individuals who compromise procurement processes, delay critical projects, manipulate systems, or undermine service delivery. It cannot carry those who contribute power losses, inflate costs, or erode public confidence. The responsibility we hold is too great, and the consequences of failure on households, businesses, and the economy are too significant. Those who are not ready to be part of the public service we are building must reflect seriously, and where necessary, please separate from government to allow those who are committed, capable, and ready to serve to take up that responsibility. Because ultimately, the credibility of this sector will not be determined by infrastructure or policy alone, but by the conduct and performance of those entrusted to serve within it. You have been seeing the action and attention that has been directed at the energy sector lately, where decisive steps have to be taken to sanitize the sector, including action on the leadership, both areas of omission, for both areas of omission and commission. This is deliberate and it will continue. We will sustain this cleanup until it is clearly understood at every level that misconduct, negligence, and abuse of office will not be tolerated. The framework of legal and administrative consequences will continue to operate firmly and consistently. Those found culpable will face consequences that are proportionate lawful, and decisive. Accountability is not just selective. It is not optional. It is a fundamental requirement for restoring integrity, discipline, and public confidence in the sector. On expectation from this engagement, I would like to say that the expectation of the energy sector, just as with all other sectors have been engaged, are clear, deliberate, and negotiable. They are as follows. These are the expectations that we have listed for you to take it up. Number one is alignment with government's development agenda. All programs and activities must align fully with the Potomac economic transformation agenda. This includes delivering affordable and reliable power to support manufacturing, MSMEs, agriculture, digital information, innovation, and industrial growth, while advancing universal access and clean energy transitions. Second is reinforcing values and professional standards. Integrity, accountability, professionalism, efficiency, and responsiveness must define how we operate. These values must be evident in every procurement, in every project implemented, in every connection made, and in every decision taken. The credibility of this sector depends on it. The third issue that we need to pay attention to is mindset and attitude transformation. We must move away from routine, process-driven approaches to a result-driven and service-oriented culture. What matters is not how long project remains on paper, but how efficiently they are delivered. Not how many activities are undertaken, but the reliability, affordability, and quality of power delivered to the citizens, from activity to impact, from delay to delivery. The fourth item that you need to pay attention to is breaking institutional silos. We must operate as one coordinated energy system. Generation, transmission, distribution, and regulation must work seamlessly together. Fragmentation leads to inefficiencies, higher costs, and service gaps, and it is within these gaps that problems persist. The fifth is citizen-centered service delivery. Our work must directly improve the experience of the Kenyan citizen. Reliable power, minimal outages, timely connections, clear communication, and responsive customer service. This is a standard. A Kenyan must experience energy services that are dependable, accessible, and predictable. The sixth item is prudent management of public resources. All resources must be utilized efficiently, transparently, and strictly for their intended purpose. Investments in energy infrastructure must deliver value for money. There must be zero tolerance for inflated costs, stalled projects, or misuse of public funds. The seventh is strengthening monitoring and evaluation. We must track performance rigorously, monitor outages, system losses, project timelines, and service delivery standards. Not just inputs, but outcomes. Not just capacity installed, but power reliably delivered. Not just systems in place, but costs reduced and trust restored. The eighth one is strengthening governance and separation of roles. Boards must provide strategic direction, oversight, accountability, while management must be responsible for execution and day-to-day operations. These separations must be clearly understood and strictly maintained. Not interference, but oversight. Not role confusion, but clarity of responsibility. Management and staff must, in addition, operate in strict adherence to all applicable laws, regulations, policies, and government circulars without exception. Where this boundary is respected and compliance upheld, institutions function effectively. Where it is blurred, it creates inefficiency, weakens accountability, and also opens the doors for malpractice. Ladies and gentlemen, These expectations are directly linked to the challenges we have discussed and the results we must now deliver in the energy sector. This message must not end here. It must cascade to every level, every institution, and every officer without exception. Every leader present here bears personal responsibility to ensure that this agenda is clearly communicated, fully understood, and effectively implemented across generations, transmission, distribution, and regulations. All institutions are therefore directed to align their works accordingly, strengthen internal accountability mechanisms, and ensure strict adherence to the values and standards outlined. This must be reflected in improved reliability of supply, reduced systems losses, timely completion of projects, prudent financial management, and transparent operations. Progress must be reported, outcome be demonstrated, gaps must be addressed. Let there be no ambiguity. Implementation is not optional but expected. It is required. It must be evident in the quality, affordability, reliability, and integrity of the energy services delivered to the people. I want to add and say that we have made tremendous progress in the energy sector. There has been improved delivery of service, consistent interventions, and we want to really thank you for doing that, for standing the gap, for making sure that professionalism is deployed. Transparency is now coming up, and we can see that the institutions under energy sector are doing their best to be more transparent, to be more accountable, and also to be efficient and effective. But there are some few areas, as I mentioned, that I want to emphasize, that issues that undermines efficient running of the institution. Actions that derails the vision of His Excellency the President of soldiering on, marching on from third world status to first world status will never be tolerated. We want all of us, as all of us are responsible people, all of us have a role to play, all of us have been given responsibility, however small it is, however big it is, do it. And when you do your part, and if everybody does their part in energy sector, for sure, we shall get to a level where our power supply is efficient, reliable, and also cost-effective. I want, in conclusion, to say that the government is very vigilant. The government is really out to ensure that all people who are not aligned to the vision and the mission of the president are dealt with, because it is us, officers of government, who can do what is supposed to be done for this country to progress, or who would refuse to do what is supposed to be done, and thereby the country stagnates. Let us all work together. Let us gain and consolidate the gains that we have made. Let us improve. Let us innovate. Let us work extra time on everything, right from even our own character and behavior, on our own way of doing things, to improving the efficiency of delivering the projects that we all wait for the country to get sufficient and adequate power. In conclusion, I urge each one of you to return to your duty stations with urgency and purpose. As a nation, We are not yet where we ought to be in delivering affordable, reliable, and efficient energy to all Kenyans. We cannot afford further delays. The task before us is significant, but it is achievable if we act decisively, diligently, and without delay. Let us move with speed. Let us move with focus, and let us move with determination to deliver an energy sector that is efficient, accountable, and responsive to the needs of our people. Because in the end, what will matter is not what we said, but what we did. I want to stop there. I want all of us to be attentive to the subsequent presentations. I want all of us to go out there and ensure that all the initiatives that we have come up with, issues of zero fault audit to audit, issues of lawful consequences, issues of transformative approaches to human resource management, issues of misuse, ensuring that misuse and wastage of resources is avoided. Let us all go and confront and come out as people, men and women, who are ready to transform their country and bequeath their children and the children of their children a country that is functioning, a country that is cohesive, a country that is developing and progressing. Thank you very much. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much to the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, Mr. Felix Koskei, for that speech that is full of advisories, full of lessons for us to learn and things for us to be able to pay attention to so that we can be able to elevate our performance within the energy sector. Thank you also to the Principal Secretary, who's also been able to speak to us, and also the Principal Administrative Secretary. At this point, I do want to be able to point out that I hope and trust that when the Principal Secretary was speaking, that we're able to see an award on his table, which I believe is an award that he received during the end of year meeting that was held by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service for good service in December last year. And we say congratulations, Bwana PS, together with your team that were able to earn the award. I want to remind you to introduce yourself in the chat section, and please provide your name, your designation, the station or duty station where you are in the county. We've seen quite a lot of people who have logged in groups. Some are even as many as 22, some are even as many as 30, etc. But however, there are some who have not mentioned where they're logging in from. So we've seen your names, but we don't know where are you logging in from and which entity or institution do you belong to. So kindly ensure that you include that detail, because those details are used to be able to, to merge together the attendance for this meeting and ensure that together with the Google form, which if you have not filled, we request that you go and fill. I also want to be able to bring to your attention certain things which will help us to be able to run this meeting efficiently. One is to say, as you're aware, the microphones. And this is because this meeting has been set up in webinar format, as was indicated by my co-moderator, Mr. Mashari, Alan Mashari, the SA from the State Department for Energy. So you'll not be able to turn on your microphone. However, there'll be a plenary section where you'll be able to raise your hand using the icons at the bottom of your screen. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll be able to see a number of icons, one of them being the chat, where you introduce yourself and also make comments. You can be able to make comments in that section and be able to express yourself, maybe, comment about, the things that are going on in this meeting. Then also we have the Q&A section where you're encouraged to raise questions for which you expect to receive an answer. We have a huge team standing by from the State Department for Energy together with its agencies to be able to respond to you. So you may be in this meeting logged in from different places in the country, and you have a question. It might be a question related to policy, within your institution, a question related to the topic for today. For example, I've seen one individual ask the question, what is the topic of the day? And you'll recall, ladies and gentlemen, that when you are registering on the Google platform, there was a narrative at the top there indicating what this meeting is about. And just to remind you, it's about our collective responsibility as public officers in implementing the constitutional values and principles of public service, in improving performance and efficiency to optimal levels, as well as providing premier services to the public qualitatively, quantitatively, and timelessly. And these are the issues that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service was canvassing in his remarks. I also want to bring to your attention that at the end of this meeting, we're going to send you all the presentations that have been made in this meeting, the various speeches for the Principal Secretary, that for the Principal Administrative Secretary, as well as for the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. We'll also be sending you the recording of this meeting so that you can be able to review it during your leisure, and you're able to look at it, within your time, so that you're able to rewind, and be able to see how you want to be able to benefit from it. And then just lastly, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is on social media, and I trust that the various speakers who will make their presentations will also point out the social media handles of the various entities under the State Department, including that of the State Department. Felix Koskei, that is the handle of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service on Facebook, X, and TikTok. And you spell the name Koskei as Koskei. He's also on YouTube, where we have a number of people who are following on YouTube to be able to receive this communication. And you can find him on Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service on YouTube. So I do want to also congratulate the CEO of Kenya Power and Lighting Company, Mr. Joseph Siror, who also received an award during the December meeting for being able to mobilize the most in relation to a series of meetings that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service was having on prompt corrective action and the immediate administration of lawful consequences for infractions in the public service. I trust that all of you have attended those meetings and therefore are familiar with also what the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service was saying. Lastly, before I welcome my colleague to be able to make his remarks and for the program to continue, I also want to be able to bring to your attention the importance of remaining logged into this meeting so that you can be able to listen to all the presentations, as was stated by the Head of Public Service. You're required to ensure that you remain to the end so that you're able to ensure that you hear for yourself what is going to be said by the various speakers. And with that, I'd like to call my colleague, Mr. Collins Kiprono, the Secretary, Legal Affairs from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, to make his presentation. And this will be followed by Engineer Thomas Karungu, who is the Secretary, Electrical Power Development Department. And that will be followed by CPA Duncan Kichamu, who is also from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. And then my co-moderator will take over from there. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity. And also, we welcome you warmly to this meeting. And Collins, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda Musumba, the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, our past Executive Office of the President, chairpersons, board members, and CEOs, distinguished participants, our colleagues from the State Department for Energy, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, my duty this afternoon is to set context. I'll be making a presentation on setting of context and perhaps just an understanding on why we are here this particular afternoon. And I will begin by setting out the institutional perspective of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, whose role is to support the organization coordination, and effectiveness in the execution of government business, that is across the entire public service. And at the constitutional level, Article 132 provides for the foundation of that particular role, and with particular reference to Article 132(3)(b), which entrusts the president with directing and coordinating of functions of ministries and government departments. While Article 132(4)(a) empowers the president to establish any particular office in the public service at the recommendation of the Public Service Commission. When you go further to the National Government Coordination Act, this act in turn establishes the office of the head of public service within the executive office of the president. And when you go granular to the Executive Order number 1 of 2025, it gives practical expressions to the functions of the Chief of Staff and the head of public service. And this particular executive order that I've made reference to gives 8 high-level functions of the office of the Chief of Staff and the head of public service. However, attention for this particular session, we will focus on 6 of these functions as the ones which are closely aligned with the themes of these engagements. And as my colleague Dr. Linda Musumba has alluded to, the 3 themes for this particular session are the constitutional values and principles of the public service and legal compliance, the performance and efficiency, and the delivery of the quality and timely services being rendered to the citizens. So I'll speak to the first function. I'll go very quickly. Is the first function of the Chief of Staff and the head of public service is the administrative head of the executive office of the president. This function is anchored under Section 7 of the National Government Coordination Act. And in that capacity, this office stands as the administrative center of the presidency and sustains the orderly functioning of the executive office of the president. And as regards to the energy sector, this is a very relevant function because matters of energy sits as amongst the most strategic within the public administration, because it touches, as the Chief of Staff and the head of public service has clearly stated, it touches on the households, it touches the issues of the industry, it touches issue of transport, it touches the issue of agriculture, health, education, and even the general national competitiveness. This office therefore provides the high-level administration anchor within which the government ensures matters arising from this sector are handled within the wider framework of the lawful administration and institutional order, to ensure that the same is coordinated in a very orderly fashion. The second function reflects the office as having the function of the overarching mandate of the public entities. And what do we mean by public entities? This refers to all state organs or public body or state corporations where government institutions through which public functions are performed and through which procurement is done and keeping of the public records. So you notice that all of us seated in this webinar fall within the definition of public entities. This is a function, again, which is conducted on behalf of the president to ensure that there is supervision of the entire public service. And importantly, because many sectors issues do not sit within a single institution, the issues of policy and generally transmission and distribution of the same is cascaded in a way that it needs coordination from the top. The third function speaks to the aspect of the promotion of ethics, good governance, efficiency, and effectiveness. And in the energy sector especially, this is significant because public confidence depends heavily on integrity. It depends on the issues of transparency, professionalism, affordability of the services being rendered, and these services being rendered with fairness. Whether the issue of electricity access, when you're talking about project execution, when you're talking about the issue of renewable energy, the aspect of regulation, because there are so many regulators within this space, the issue of the customer service being rendered, the public expects that these institutions are run in an ethical, competent, and in a way that it champions the issue of the citizens. The fourth function speaks the issue of transmittal of executive directives, orders, and presidential proclamations. In the energy sector, these are as well very important because major government priorities require a clear and timely follow-through, whether the issues are concerning electricity access, the issue of transmission, the issue of clean energy, the issue of acceleration of renewable energy uptake. These functions ensures that the executive direction is communicated clearly and converted rather into an administrative action. The fifth function speaks to the issue of transmittal of policy advisories by way of circulars. All of us, colleagues, we notice that from time to time we receive circulars from our parent ministry, which is the Ministry of Energy. We receive circulars from the Office of the President. We receive circulars from the National Treasury, the State Law Office, the Public Service Commission, Salaries and Remuneration Commission. These circulars are issued to ensure that there is a standardization in the implementation, and they also clarify expectations and communicate policy direction in a way that there is a strengthened consistency across institutions within the public sector. The uneven implementation or procedural delay, colleagues, are likely to make the delivery of services to the public to be detrimental, rather. When you go to the sixth function, as you can see on your screens, colleagues, the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, as laid in law, is expected to be responsible for the overall effectiveness of the public service. This speaks to the rest of five functions that I've made reference to. But in the context of the energy sector, this is perhaps the most critical, because it means that ultimate concerns is not simply whether institutions exist, but whether these institutions are producing the expected results as per the expectation of the public. In the energy administration, it means whether electricity access is expanding, whether the supply is becoming more reliable with minimal power outages, whether the power is cleaner and more affordable, whether the supply is becoming more reliable, and whether the standards are being met, and the public experience in this sector is efficient and is responsive, and most importantly, whether it is transparent. Now just to marry the two and to set context, you can move to the next slide. This taken together with the six functions, it shows that the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service brings the aspect of the coordination, it brings the aspect of stewardship, it brings the aspect of ethical leadership, implementation discipline, and the ultimate effectiveness, and in which lenses through which the sector must be able to be organized. In this sense, the relevance of this particular functions and the context of today's presentation is that these functions speak directly to this engagement, because the aspect of administration and leadership underscores the institutional order and lawful administration. When you look at the aspect of coordination and of government business, it reinforces performance, coherence, and execution discipline. When you look at the aspect of promotion of ethics and good governance, it anchors the constitutional values and principles as set out, and I'll speak to it very shortly. And when you look at the aspect of transmission of directives and circulars, it advances the aspect of clarity, consistency, and team's implementation thereof. And the responsibility for the overall effectiveness, colleagues, brings to the central question before we even start this engagement, whether institutions within this sector are functioning in a way that it delivers lawful, efficient, and reliable citizen-centric results. Because it should never be lost on us that Wanjiku is our number one client. The consumer of electricity, when we are doing last mile connectivity, is our number one client. It's from this stewardship perspective that through the leadership of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, the State Department for Energy, whose mandate is a huge array from the national energy policies, the development management, all the way to the promotion of the renewable energy, that this meeting was called so that we can be able to look at this architecture of this State Department, which is very central, which is very key within the architecture of government, as it stands at the heart of economic growth. Because when you look at what is expected and the functions that are given to the State Department, it will speak to the aspect of industrialization, investment, household welfare, all the way to even powering of our schools. Because you notice the issue of connectivity of the last mile ensures that education is working. The issue of connectivity within our industry ensures that our government grow. So when access is delayed, the supply is unreliable, the system fail, the shortfall is felt immediately by both the citizenry on their own and the economy as a whole. Now, I'll now delve into the the thematic areas, and the first one being the implementation of the constitutional values and principles of public service and legal requirements under statute. This first thematic area is very key, because when you look at Article 10 of the Constitution, it anchors the public institutions in the national values and principles, so that institutions are expected to uphold the rule of law, they're expected to uphold integrity, they're expected to uphold transparency and accountability. When you go further under Article 132, so that I marry Article 10 and Article 232, that is the presentation on your right of your screen. Article 232 requires that high standards of professionalism, ethics, efficiency, and economic optimal and economic utilization of the resources is a requirement under the law, and what better law than the Constitution? And this should be done in a manner that is prompt, it is prudent, and it is equitable while delivering the services. And at the same time, the delivery should be done in an accountable manner, and it is done in a way that the citizens' interests are taken into account, because the citizens expected their services to be rendered in a timely manner, in the fastest possible way. And when you look at Article 47 as well, it speaks to the issue of Fair Administrative Act. This has further been codified in the legislation under the Fair Administrative Act, where it is a requirement that when rendering the services, this should be done in an expeditious, efficient, lawful, and reasonable and procedural, in a procedural manner. And you note the poetry in the Constitution while speaking about the citizenry, because when you go to Article 1, it speaks about we the people, because we are because of the people. And this poetry is further codified under Article 10, 47, and Article 32 of this particular Constitution. And when you go further to the fourth schedule of the Constitution, the energy policy it is provided as amongst the functions of the national government. These constitutional duties are enforced further under the Energy Act, which provides for both national and county government roles, which have been clearly demarcated, with different obligations given to every level of government. This means that the State Department must only hold the mandate as provided in law. It must also exercise this mandate in a manner that is lawful, in a manner that is transparency, in a manner that is accountability, and in a manner that it reflects the constitutional dictates under Article 10, 47, 232, and all other enabling legislations. Go to the next slide. When you go to the second thematic area, it speaks to the issue of improving of performance and efficiency to optimal levels. Here, the central question is whether there is a marriage between the law, the policy, and the institutional mandate when we are dispensing the public resources. And here, we are converting the measures that have been put by law, and now expecting the output that are results, because the performance in this sector is reflected in so many pedestals. The issue of electricity access, the issue of the growth in connections, the issue of the reliability in supply, expansion in the generation and transmission, and support of the counties and the underserved areas, which now entities like REREC come into fore to ensure that they address. So efficiency is reflected in how this coordination of the institution and the discipline of execution of this particular service to ensure that there is proper use of public resources, and there is reduction in delays and timely delivery of these services. And when you look at the data that is projected, these data we were able to obtain from the National Energy Policy of 2025-2034 that was recently launched, and it indicates that as at 2024, the national electricity access rate stood at approximately 75%, with 90% access in the urban areas and 68 within the rural areas. When you look at the report that was churned out by EPRA, it states that in the financial year ending 30th of June 2025, the annual electricity generated has risen from 14,472 gigawatts, and the peak demand has reached about 2,316 megawatts. The installation as well from the same report speaks to renewable energy capacity has gone up by about 2,900 2030, our colleagues will be able to shed light to this, representing a sharp rise to about 80.48 of the total installed capacity, and with a further 395,480 per year, bringing a cumulative grid connection to customers at around 10,000 and 10 million rather and 45,000. These figures clearly indicates to the efficiency that has been increased within the department, but this measure of great access should also speak to the aspect of reliability, the aspect of clean power, expanded infrastructure, and faster project implementation and more disciplined interinstitutional coordination. Colleagues, when you go to the next slide that speaks about the issue of this Singapore aspiration, this aspiration has been spoken at great length by this administration, by both the president and the chief of staff and the head of public service. This administration has clearly set out its targets in transforming Kenya into a Singapore kind of model in our generation, which ensures that we build institutions that are orderly, institutions that are efficient, institutions that are transparent, and institutions that are firmly focused on results, and institutions that put a lot of emphasis on meritocracy. This can only be achieved once we are able to fix two very critical elements, the hardware and the software. And what do we mean by saying the hardware? The hardware is what we can touch and feel. The hardware is the brick and mortar, whereas the software is the soft skills, the ones that we might not necessarily feel, but it is very critical to ensure that it works together with the hardware. So while the president is working very hard to fix the hardware in terms of the affordable housing, in terms of connecting our households with electricity, in terms of building roads, the chief of staff and the head of public service has taken upon himself, and this is a role that is bestowed to him in the constitutional order and the enabling provision in the law, that he works to fix the software. And by fixing the software, this is fixing the teething issues that are within the public service, the 1 million plus strong public servants who interact with the citizens, the 50 plus million citizens, so that we ensure that they feel that the government is working for them, because that is the only way we can be able to achieve the public trust that has been eroded over time. And how has the State Department been able to address some of these issues towards the journey of Singapore? One is the universal electricity access and clean energy by 2030, which was set out in the blueprint that was launched by the State Department, while also seeking to optimize the country's renewable energy potential and strengthen good governance within the sector. Again, the other very useful example is the geothermal development, and particularly the Olkaria, Naivasha, and Menengai corridors, which demonstrate how disciplined long-term investment can deliver the clean baseload power and reinforce the national energy security. Another very good example is the continued expansion of the grid connections, and the PS clearly elucidated on this particular aspect, with the continued increased number of customers who've been connected to the grid, with over 10 million of them. And these are the benefits can clearly be seen, that the public policy are more visible in our homes, and this is a thumbs up to all of you who are working towards this vision of achieving Singapore within our generation, with our schools, with our homes, with the health facilities, and businesses being connected to electricity. And in this context, and the journey to Singapore means, just go to the next slide, means that there is more clean energy, there is quicker, more reliable, and more transparent and responsible public service. You can see in the slide that lady putting on lights in his house for the first time. That is the universal access that all of us are hoping that we can be able to achieve by 2030. And Singapore will just not be a dream, but a reality. The other picture on your extreme left, you can see the president launching the Olkaria Naivasha corridors, which is also one of the pillars set out under this regime. And when you go to the last slide, which speaks to the last theme of today's engagement, that is the last thematic areas of ensuring that the citizens receive a premier service in a manner that is qualitative, in a manner that is quantitative, and delivered in a timely manner. So citizens interact, colleagues, with this state department as when they seek various services, from the electricity connection, when they expect the response to the complaints once they raise, and information on the renewable energy for the people who would want to come and invest in this country. Equally, when the people are coming to apply for the geothermal licenses review, the tax exemption as provided from time to time in liaison with the Ministry of, with the National Treasury, and the recommendations. So, colleagues, you notice that this is a place where the citizens can judge, and with even the current debate on the fuel increment speaks to how critical this state department is when the citizens are interacting with. And you notice that in your service charter, which we were able to receive, you've put targets, and you can see the first target is that you attend to your visitors within the first 5 minutes of them coming. You respond to the complaints within 7 days. You review the geothermal license applications within 14 working days, and you review proposals for the development of power projects within 21 days, and issue the tax exemptions when recommended within 1 week. These are very beautiful targets as per the service charter. How we implement them is now another story that you people can tell us, and now from a citizen-centric perspective. These commitments, but it's critical to point out that these commitments show that this energy sector serves the delivery not just as a secondary policy, but it is visible at the face of the policy. These policies exemplify the journey to Singapore. These policies exemplify the zeal in which the State Department is looking towards ensuring that the citizens receive these services which are premier in a timely manner. So from this perspective, colleagues, the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service is key point in which the State Department cannot work in isolation, but it means that they are part of one huge ecosystem that is the public, and it is expected to uphold constitutional values. It is expected to comply with the constitutional requirement and perform these services in an efficient and deliver services in a manner that the citizens would be content with. So the role of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, as he has pointed out in his keynote address, is that one of complementary, and it helps the coordination and stewardship to ensure that there is overall effectiveness through which this sector is better organized. So in conclusion, colleagues, this engagement is important because it reminds us of the energy governance that is not only about governance, but also about the generation of infrastructure, and is also about the public service. As the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service likes to say, it's about the public service. It's about the legacy that we leave, so that we leave a legacy of a well-orchestrated, a well-organized public service, as to this institution perform their mandate in a manner that is ethical, in a manner that is efficient, transparent, and in a coordinated manner, is our key duty. So at the heart of the energy governance lies public trust, and public trust is earned when these particular institutions are lawful, efficient, and transparent, and visibly effective while rendering their functions. Thank you very much, colleagues. I believe I've been able to set context on the presentations that are to come in the course of this afternoon and this evening. My name is Collins Kiprono, serving as the Secretary Legal Affairs, Executive Office of the President, under the stewardship of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, Mr. Felix Koskei. Thank you very much.
Mr. Karungu from the State Department for Energy.
Thank you. I'll make a presentation. A brief presentation descriptive of the institution setup of the energy sector, going into some detail on the sector statistics. So the Chief of Staff and Public Service, Mr. Felix Kosgei, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Mr. Alex Wachira, Senior Administrative Officers, board chairs, head of utility.
Mr. Karungu, kindly, your camera is off. Would you kindly turn it on? Thank you.
Am I visible now?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. So probably I can start my salutations again. Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Mr. Felix Kosgei, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Mr. Alex Wachira, Senior Administrative Officers, board chairs, and heads of utilities, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The outline of my presentation, I'll start with an overview of the energy sector, with the mission, vision, structure, and sector players, then interconnected power system with the generation mix. I'll give details on key programs, current activities, achievements, challenges, opportunities, and asks from the sector. So the mission of the State Department for Energy is to facilitate provision of clean, sustainable, affordable, competitive, and secure energy for national development while protecting the environment. And our vision is a globally competitive energy sector for sustainable development. The sector is organized, I start with the State Department, where it's headed by the Principal Secretary. Then we have under the State Department, we have 4 directorates, of which 3 are technical and 1 is administrative. The 3 technical directorates are electrical power development, renewable energy, and geo-exploration, while the 4th is the administration and support departments. Then under the State Department, we have KenGen, we have Kenya Power, we have KETRACO, REREC, GDC, NUPEA, and the regulator, EPRA. The slide that's on the screen now, that is a graphical presentation of the description that I've given about the organization of the sector. We have power generation, where we have KenGen, GDC, and IPPs. Then power transmission, we have KETRACO, and partly Kenya Power. Then we have distribution, where the players are Kenya Power and REREC, and the retail of electricity, which is done by Kenya Power. The Kenyan power system is composed of the interconnected power generation, power transmission, and distribution network that serve all the industrial, commercial, and domestic customers in the country. We have an installed generation capacity of 3,272 megawatts with an effective capacity of 3,144. The difference is the installed generation capacity is the total capacity as per the specification of the equipment that are used in the generation of electricity, while the effective is what is contracted by KPLC with the farms that generate the electricity. Our system peak demand to date is 2,444.4 megawatts that was recorded on 14th January 2026. We have a power network that is a grid, interconnected grid of 331,999 kilometers. 1 more kilometer and we get to 332,000. And our customer connections to date is 10.27 million customers. We have a power generation mix of geothermal being the highest at 30% capacity. Then we have hydro at 25%, thermal, which includes both the gas turbines at Muhoroni and the thermal engines at 15%. Wind is at 13%, while the rest make up the rest of the 13%. That's a graphical. The slide that is appearing now is a bar chart giving a presentation of what I've just read out to you. The key programs that we have in the sector, we have electricity access expansion, which includes initiatives like last mile. Then we have renewable energy development. We have rural electrification. We have energy efficiency initiatives and clean cooking programs. The current activities addressing the key programs, we have last mile connectivity program. We have grid expansion projects. We have renewable energy investments, under which we have geothermal expansion, that is Olkaria and Menengai. Then we have solar powered mini grids under a project called COSAP, which is meant for the 14 underserved counties in the country. Then we have policy and regulatory reforms. And whatever you said there is the energy policy of 2025 and the integrated national energy planning regulations that bring in all the county governments in the planning, plus beyond the electricity that we've had, the Least Cost Power Development Plan, we have now embraced all other forms of energy. Then we have we're doing a development of an investment plan for clean cooking. In our giving of services to the country, we have some achievements that I would like to give some light to. We have expanded our national grid infrastructure and increased our household connectivity. As mentioned earlier, the grid is 332,000 kilometers. Okay, we mentioned that we had 1 kilometer less of that and 10.27 million connections. We've also had some growth in renewable energy capacity, which reinforces Kenya's global commitments at 90% renewable energy mix. And Kenya is ranked 7th worldwide and number 1 in Africa on geothermal power production. And as mentioned earlier, the geothermal capacity in our country is at 30% of our installed capacity. We also, under still achievements, we have advancement of energy diversification strategies to enhance energy security, including plans to include nuclear power in our energy mix by 2034. This is a plan that's supposed to be set up in Siaya County. There's also development and implementation of policy and regulatory reforms to attract investment in energy that is contained under the Energy Policy 2025 and the INEP regulations. We also have an initiative of strengthening of regional power trade through interconnectors within East Africa, where we have interconnectors. Some are complete, some ongoing between us and our neighboring countries. Ethiopia is already complete, and also Kenya and Tanzania is complete. Other initiatives are ongoing. We've also had some expanded access to clean cooking, where we have that 4.4%, which is the highest in sub-Saharan Africa. And there's need to sustain the championship globally, regionally, and nationally. So we'll keep on putting in effort to ensure that we expand on the clean cooking initiative. And by that, we are saying that clean cooking is now an integral part of the national energy policy, the energy compact, and county energy plans. The challenges we have in the sector, we have a demand-supply imbalance. We've had a significant high rise in peak demand, which is at 2,444 megawatts versus the effective generation capacity of 3,144 megawatts, which results in a shrinking reserve margin. To shed some light on that, when you talk of the shrinking reserve margin, the 3,144 megawatts is not always available as it is. You might find probably at some point the available capacity, generation capacity, due to probably maintenance or maybe an availability of some of the plants that do the generation is not very far from the peak demand that we've spoken of, 2044. And this brings up a risk if a plant is to get off of the system that usually plunges us into a national crisis. The other challenge is on transmission and distribution infrastructure gaps, where we have inadequate high voltage transmission network. Earlier on, I mentioned the COSAP project, where the Kenya Off-Grid Solar Access Program, which addresses the underserved counties in the country. This is where the national transmission grid is yet to get to. So that's why I talked about inadequate high voltage transmission network. Also, we have delays in project completion, which emanates from budgetary challenges, way leaves, acquisition challenges also, and litigations in as we execute our projects. Under renewable energy integration, the challenge we have is having a strong renewable energy base, Kenya, where we have a huge establishment of intermittent sources of power, that is wind and solar. And these introduce some challenges in the system because in itself, wind and solar does not assure you that in the next minute you're going to have the same capacity that you have in this minute for wind or the solar, and that intermittency brings in some challenges as far as stability in the grid is concerned. Also, we have a curtailment of excess power, excess, I would say in quotes, because perhaps in the evening, beyond when we are peak, the 2,444 megawatts that we require at peak, we may require much less as the night proceeds, probably less than 1,000. And in itself, the sources that we have, geothermal and hydro, we may have to curtail. And in curtailing geothermal, we vent the steam. We allow the steam to get into the atmosphere, which essentially are saying we're losing energy. And that's what I'm talking about, curtailment of excess power. On land issues, we talked about well leaves earlier, and also encroachment of energy facilities. Another challenge is aging infrastructure, which leads to system inefficiencies and high technical losses. This one we are talking to, when you talk about technical losses, is a loss that emanates from the transmission of the power itself. Just like when you're driving a car, probably you're only one passenger in the car, while the car could carry 3 or 4. That capacity, the extra capacity that you have is wasted. But in this case, probably the car could carry more, but because of technical issues with the car, it may not get to its capacity. So essentially, you're saying you get technical losses due to aging of the infrastructure. Then we also have financial constraints. Resources are always scarce, and that does not, we are not exempt from that. And we have inadequate budgetary allocations, which brings up challenges in our implementation of projects. We have also policy implementation gaps, and that's what you're coming up when you come up with policy instruments to address the gaps. On clean cooking, we have low adaptation of clean cooking, and you're saying out of the 75% who have access to electricity, it's only 1% of that 75% that use it for clean cooking, generally because of affordability of the electricity for cooking, and also probably limited awareness. Because probably if proper analysis is done, electricity may not be very expensive to cook with, but there's a perception that you'd rather use other sources of energy in your cooking rather than electricity. The opportunities that are alive in the sector, we have expansion of renewable energy. Under this, under geothermal, we have drilling and development. Sorry for that. And we have Olkaria fields, we have Menengai, we have Korosi, Paka, and in Baringo we have Silali and we have Paka in Baringo, Paka and Silali in Baringo, and Suswa in Naivasha. Hydro, the opportunity we have proposed High Grand Falls Dam. Also, we have a project to raise the Masinga Dam. When you raise the Masinga Dam, you're going to have a higher capacity storage. Masinga Dam serves as a reservoir for the cascade of dams that we have on Tana River. So if you increase the capacity in Masinga Dam, that means we are improving on our energy security, as all the other dams get their water from that dam that is the most upstream. We also have operating of Gitaru Power Station. Also, we have nuclear power development. In the sector, we also have private sector participation. This is both in development of transmission lines and in the generation space. Also, we have an opportunity in green financing and climate funds to support renewable energy projects. We also have an opportunity to expand, upgrade, and modernize our transmission and distribution infrastructure. There's an opportunity in regional power trade where we don't have power that is selling from our country. There's an opportunity for us to wheel power across our grid from one country to the other. Perhaps the example I can give is from Ethiopia to Tanzania, or when we get interconnected in the East African power pool, it will be amongst the members of the pool, and thus there's an opportunity in regional power trade. There's also an opportunity in adoption of emerging technologies, which are smart grids, e-mobility, energy storage, and clean cooking technologies. Again, another opportunity is investment in clean cooking. Our asks, the first one is on resource mobilization and financial stability, and we'd request, if possible, because we also understand we are aligned to the limited resources that we have, but we still ask for adequate budgetary allocation for programs and projects. The next ask that we have is capacity building and skills development. And we're asking for adequate budgetary support for human resource development, for continuous professional development, to improve productivity in the sector. The human resource is always the most important resource in any undertaking, and as such, when you capacity build and improve their skills, I think the output will be better quality and maybe also in quantity. Our next ask is on resolution of cross-cutting challenges, and we wish for support in resolution of bottlenecks that affect service delivery, including security of energy infrastructure, encroachment, and in addressing litigations. The last one, okay, this one is repeated, sorry. This capacity building and skill development, that was the first ask that we had. And ladies and gentlemen, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that presentation. All protocols observed. My name is Duncan Kichamu from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. Participants, allow me now to quickly take us through the highlights of our zero-fault audit campaign, which is a reform agenda that was initiated by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, and we are currently on the third year of its implementation. Now, my colleague mentioned that one of the roles of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is to ensure the improvement of the overall effectiveness of the public service. It's under that auspice that he was able to come up with this campaign, which basically seeks to rein in sanity on the way that different public entities are utilizing public resources. So this campaign, as I've said, it has been running for the last 3 years. It's on its third year of implementation since it was launched in September 2023. And it's a response to Article 201 of the Constitution, which provides for prudency, for the prudent and responsible use of resources. This campaign aims at ensuring that we have a proactive approach to achieve full compliance with audit standards. It's focused on preventing errors and prevention of audit queries that many a times lead us into problems with the external auditor. It's anchored on accountability, transparency, and continued improvement. So what is this Zero Fault Audit campaign? When the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service launched this campaign in September 2023, a directive was given for all public entities to ensure that going forward, they do two things. Number one, they ensure that they resolve all prior and outstanding audit issues. So institutions were to do an inward-looking sort of an analysis and then to look at the issues that were pending from the audit queries and recommendations that were given by the external auditor, and they were required to resolve. Then going forward, all institutions were required to ensure that they do not attract new audit queries, and that one was to be achieved by ensuring that they comply with all existing laws and regulations. So this campaign, ladies and gentlemen, simply requires us to conform with all circulars, with all manuals, with all policies and procedures at every level of the government. And by doing that, we will be complying with this requirement of this campaign. It's an improvement of audit performance measure because institutions have been encouraged to relook at their operations, to relook at their financial statements and ensure that over the last 3 years and going forward, they do better compared to how they were doing when this campaign was started. Ladies and gentlemen, all the literature, all the materials, including the circulars, the directives that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has given, and any other presentation on this Zero Fault Audit campaign is documented. All of them are available on the website of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. If you go there, you'll be able to see a step-by-step approach on what has been done over the years, the successes, the gains, and the areas of focus. So this campaign was responding to quite a number of recurring challenges that were noted by the external auditor. And these ones include weak documentation and record management systems, delayed responses to audit queries and management letters, gaps in financial accountability at implementation levels, unsupported expenditures, among many others. Incomplete or outdated asset register. And as I've said earlier, the aim of this campaign was to rally our public entities and state departments for them to focus on preventing the occurrence of audit queries rather than being reactive to resolving such queries. So colleagues, what the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is simply requiring us to do is to attain a clean audit report. And what do we mean by a clean audit report? When you look at the different types of audit opinions that are given by the external auditor, and indeed even our internal auditors, they usually classified under four levels. The first one, four categories. The first one being the unqualified audit opinion. And it has been the directive of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service that at all times as institutions, we should aim at ensuring that we attain unqualified audit opinion. So this unqualified audit opinion simply means that our institutions have prepared financial statements which present a true and fair view and comply with financial regulations. And it's a strong indicator that strong financial management and compliance with all laws, circulars, policy, procedures, among many others, are happening within our institution. So we won't delve into the other ones because the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is keen on ensuring that we get these unqualified or unmodified audit opinions. The rest, if we are in any of those categories, we should make sure that we do better by improving the performance of our audit matters. And colleague, I did a quick search and look at the last reports, and that's the reports that were given by the external auditor in the financial year that ended June 2024. And out of the entities that are within the State Department of Energy, NUPEA, EPRA, and EPRA were able to get unqualified audit opinions. Those two had unmodified audit opinions. And a quick look also revealed that it's not only in these financial year that ended June 2024. Even in the other financial year that ended June 2023, they also got unmodified audit opinion. The rest of the entities, REREC, in the last concluded financial year, they had a qualified audit opinion. GDC also had a qualified audit opinion. And even the State Department of Energy itself, because it's audited in the financial year that ended June 2024, it also got a qualified audit opinion. So the rallying call for these entities is that for the financial year that will end June 2025, when this audit is done, please ensure that you move from qualified to unmodified to unqualified audit opinions, because as you can see, as I've indicated, NUPEA, which has been on a trajectory of getting unmodified audit opinion, is repeating the same behavior. So we should be encouraged and we should focus on ensuring that we get the same. I also looked at a key concern that was raised by the Auditor General as he or she was looking at the financial statements of the State Department of Energy. And a comment there was that although the management indicates it as having resolved prior audit matters, no evidence was provided to support that status. So again, when you know, as we said earlier, audit is all about evidences. When you indicate that you have resolved, please document the things that you have done that will make the external auditor agree with you that you have finally resolved the audit matters that were raised. So what is needed for us to achieve this zero-fault audit? We need, number one, to establish robust internal control system across all functions. And the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has been so insistent on us, telling us that these internal control systems should make our institutions attain clean audit reports. It should be that you have very strong and robust internal control systems such that they will be able to, by themselves, pick issues, identify risky areas, and enable the management and leadership to address these issues even before the external auditor comes. Another thing that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has really done on the different state departments and agencies was to revitalize and re-energize the internal audit function. Over the 3 years, the things that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has done to address the systemic and systematic issues that initially faced the internal audit function are beginning to bear fruit, because currently we are seeing a situation where all public finance management standing committees are fully equipped, fully established, fully operationalized. And it's through these committees that are giving us the positive indication that our institutions will not only attain clean audit reports, but they will continue on that trajectory. The other thing that we need to do is ensure proper documentation and record keeping at all times, then conduct regular internal audit and risk assessment. And that one can be done by that strengthened internal audit function. So participants, ladies and gentlemen, in our institutions, whether it's the State Department or the other entities within the State Department, let us ensure that we do not at any time fall down on this reform agenda of revitalizing and re-energizing the internal audit function, because these are the institutions, these are the functions that will enable us to always attain clean audit reports. Then you also need to build the staff capacity on compliance and audit processes. And as we shall see later on, the directive to attain zero-fault audit status applies to each and every person within an entity. Then you also need to promote a culture of continuous audit readiness. The Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service always tells institutions that they must at all times be audit ready. And by that he means you should be prepared enough so that whenever you are being audited, you should not be surprised by your own audit findings. He always likes to say that when systems are strong and when preparation is done on a continuous and constant manner, then audits will just become confirmations as opposed to investigations. We have talked about ensuring that we develop proper risk management plans for our State Department and all our affiliated institutions. We also need to ensure that we have timely and accurate response to audit queries. Initially, the problem that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service had with many of entities spread across the entire public service was the delayed response to audit queries. Whenever audit queries are raised by the external auditor and even by our own internal auditors in the quarterly audit reports that they submit, many institutions were taking time to respond to them. But at least you have seen some positive trajectory where matters to do with audit are being responded to on a timely and on an accurate basis. Then we also need to maintain clear audit trails and supporting documentation. Remember, we said the things that the external auditor and the internal auditor are much concerned with are the audit trails. So this one should be clear so that it makes their work easy and it will contribute to institutions attaining clean audit reports. Then you need to assign responsibility for tracking and resolving audit issues. Over the last 3 years, another lesson that this campaign has revealed to the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is that for any program that has been started, there must be sufficient ways of tracking that particular program. So even as our own entities, we should learn from that. We should have a specific person who is assigned the responsibility of tracking and ensuring that once audit recommendations and audit queries are raised, whether by the external auditor or the internal auditor, these ones are followed through and we make sure that we have resolved all of them. Then lastly, we also need to use past audit queries to improve systems and prevent recurrence. When you are audited on a particular matter this time and you're given an opinion or other queries raised, you should focus on that particular area and then use that experience to improve better and do better. Again, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service always tells the entity that you should not have that particular query that was raised recur over and over again. Once it's raised, it should be closed and then it should never occur again. So working in collaboration with the Auditor General, whenever the auditors as a state department or as an entity, we are supposed to, whenever we get those reports, to quickly or rather do systematic review and analyze those Auditor General reports. For example, as we have mentioned here, for the entities that got qualified, that is the GDC, the State Department of Energy and REREC, we should go back, systematically review and analyze those emphasis of matter or matters that were raised by the external auditor. Then come up with, develop and implement corrective action plans that will ensure you address those issues that have been raised and then correct them. Then establish clear timelines and accountability for implementation. So once you have been given an audit that is not, an opinion with some matters raised there, please have clear timelines and accountability for the implementation. Then monitor progress through audit committees and management reviews to ensure that those issues were properly resolved and that they will never occur again. Then ensure full closure of audit issues and prevent further repeat findings from occurring. Lastly, as we said earlier, each and every member, whether you're working for the State Department or for particular entities, you do have a role. And this has been the message of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service for the trainings and sensitization that he has had with various public servants, that matters to do with audit, since they touch on governance, they should not be left to officers who are in the finance or accounting space alone, but rather each and every person should work towards ensuring that their entity achieves clean audit reports. And it begins from the top. The leadership of our institutions, the principal secretary, the CEOs as accounting officers need to come up with a strong tone at the top. That tone at the top should set standards and accountability for compliance across the organization. Then we need to remember that audit outcomes are shaped by daily actions of every staff member. So whether you're a receptionist, whether you're a driver, whether you're a security person for a particular institution or a messenger, just know that your action will ultimately contribute to whether your State Department or your entity will get a clean or bad audit report. Then you are also encouraged to continuously keep accurate record, because this one depends on individual responsibility. Each and every person should ensure that at all times they maintain accurate records, and this one will make our work, or rather the work of the internal auditors and the external auditors, easier, because they will have a proper audit trail which will inform their decisions. We also need to ensure that we have strong internal controls, as we have said earlier, but then these internal controls will only be effective when consistently applied by all. So whenever you establish robust internal control, each and every person within that entity should be subjected to the same. We shouldn't have a situation where some people are bypassing the same internal controls that exist within an organization. We need also to remember that risks originate at operational level, where staff directly work. So it's at our various desks that a risk will originate. So as a staff member, always be mindful of that possibility of a risk emanating from your desk and ensure that you close that possibility of that risk affecting the audit performance of your entity. We are reminded that compliance is a shared responsibility, not limited to audit accounts and finance teams, that one I've mentioned. And very lastly, the collective effort ensures accountability and eliminates any surprise. Again, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, as I said earlier, has always told us to never be surprised by the audit findings of our institutions. We should always be prepared. Preparedness is everything when it comes to this campaign of ensuring that our institutions attain clean audit reports. Thank you very much. I submit. And now I call the session moderator, Mr. Atari, to proceed with the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much, CPA Duncan Kichamu, for your well presented presentation. Our chief guest, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, we want to get into the next session. The next session is basically getting feedback from the participants. And first and foremost, we want to give a chance to the managing directors and CEOs who will have brief remarks on specifically reaction to what has been taking place since we started this meeting at 2:30, and also the theme of these conversations. We have 15 minutes for the exercise, but I have 7 presenters. So I wish to guide that one, we write on the established protocols in the interest of time. And number 2, we limit ourselves to a maximum of 3 minutes so that we can be able to get as many speakers as possible. The order of presentations will be as follows. The first remarks will come from Engineer Peter Njenga, MD, CEO KenGen, followed by Engineer Kipkemoi Kibias, CEO Ketraco, followed by Engineer Joseph Siror, MD KPLC, followed by MD Stephen Busienei from GDC, then Dr. Rose Mukalama, REREC, followed by Justus Wabuyabo, NUPEA, and finally, Engineer Joseph Okech from EPRA. So at this juncture, allow me to welcome Engineer Peter Njenga to give his remarks. Karibu, Engineer Njenga.
Thank you very much, Alan. And as you have stated, let me write on the protocols already established. My name, as you have said, is Engineer Peter Njenga, MD and CEO KenGen. And we pride ourselves that we are the main electricity generator in Kenya. And the reason is because out of the installed capacity that my colleague, Engineer Karungu, talked about, 1,786 megawatts of that is done by KenGen. Out of that, we have 90%, which is drawn from green sources. That is geothermal, hydro, and wind. And this has positioned KenGen as the 7th largest geothermal power producer globally and leading producer in Africa. So in the area of geothermal, we are actually #1 in Africa. Our chief guest, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the bottom-up economic transformation agenda challenges us to build an economy that is productive, competitive, and inclusive. And achieving this vision calls for a stable and reliable energy supply, power that is available at all times, through all seasons, and at the scale demanded by a modern economy. To support this, KenGen has developed a strategy to expand its installed power capacity by an additional 5,540 megawatts and 500 megawatt hours by the year 2034. And this growth will include 2,000 megawatts of nuclear power plants, alongside continued investment in 833 megawatts of geothermal, 1,585 megawatts of hydro, 800 megawatts of wind, and 323 megawatts of solar energy. And we are steadily delivering on this strategy with several projects currently at implementation stage. And this year, we will commission the Olkaria 1 rehabilitation power project, which will add 63.3 megawatts to the grid. We are also making good progress in the 42.5 megawatt Seven Forks solar project, as well as the raising of Masinga that has been mentioned by Engineer Karungu. And we expect these two projects that they will be commissioned in the year 2028. We also have very significant advances that have been made in the progress on 8.6 megawatts Gogo hydropower plant project, which is anticipated to be commissioned in the year 2029. At KenGen, we strongly embrace the call for personal ownership in delivering services that are of the highest quality, timely, and reliable. We remain committed to fostering a culture of efficiency and continuous improvement across all aspects of electricity generation. This stretches from planning, construction of power plants, to production of electricity. By consistently enhancing our processes, adopting innovative solutions, and leveraging cutting-edge technology, we aim to strengthen our operational excellence. We are confident that these efforts will not only meet the growing energy needs of our nation, but also firmly establish Kenya as a leading energy hub in the region. As I conclude, Kenya's economic transformation, industrial growth, digital advancement, and increasing population all hinge on one critical factor: reliable, affordable, and adequate power. For this reason, KenGen's strategy prioritizes expanding generation capacity, enhancing system resilience, securing sustainable financing, and cultivating a culture of efficiency and continuous improvement. By consistently refining our processes and boosting productivity, we aim to meet the nation's growing energy needs while driving sustainable development. And as we had been guided, I just want to share the KenGen social media handles. We are on X at KenGen Kenya and also at KenGen MD and CEO. We are on Facebook. We are also on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube, all at KenGen Kenya. We are also in Facebook at KenGen Pink Energy, and Instagram on KenGen Pink Energy as well. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless Kenya.
Thank you very much, Engineer Peter Njenga. The next, I call upon Engineer Kipkemoi Kibias.
Thank you, our Chief Guest and Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Felix Kosgei. Allow me, sir, to write on the protocol already established and pass greetings from KETRACO. Chair, allow me also to commend you for this continuous engagement that you started once you are in office. And indeed, these discussions and continuous engagement has continued to improve our culture. And by so doing, it has improved our performance. Chair, KETRACO is a company that was established in 2008. We are now a teenager at 18, and we have continued to take on our mandate to plan, design, construct, own, and operate and maintain the high voltage electricity transmission grid. And also on top of that, Chair, we have done a lot in improving regional interconnection by doing interconnectors with our neighboring countries, and thus raising the vision for the East Africa Power Pool. Chair, I would like to quickly mention that KETRACO has a staffing of 547 staff who are based in head office and 9 regional office. And this, Chair, I'm raising this to say that I really pride myself with this small staffing and their work to ensure that we have a stable grid for this country and also for our neighboring countries. It is indeed encouraging, Chief Guest, to note that in the last over 1 year, we've never had a national blackout, and it is because of the dedication and hard work by this team that runs over 6,300 kilometers of transmission line. Chief Guest, our company since establishment in 2009 and in the year 2008, 2009, we had only 50 kilometers of transmission line. Currently, we pride ourselves by having increased the transmission network in this country to 6,248 kilometers. This indeed is a significant improvement from what was there before of 3,500 kilometers approximately since independence to the time KETRACO was established. Chief Guest, it is indeed encouraging that these 624 lines that has been done has come up with, along with, together with 52 substations, which has helped the expansion of the grid in this country and also the stability of electricity as envisaged in the government agenda. We currently have 24 ongoing projects that we plan to commission between this year and 2028. Out of these 52 substations, already 47 substations are completed and working, which has a total of capacity of 6,978 MVA transformation. And this has helped in expanding our customer base and also improving industrialization in this country. As we align ourselves to the government better agenda, we commit ourselves to continuously align our priorities, our projects to the government priorities. And we are expected as a company to increase our transmission network by a total of 8,000 kilometers to be able to accommodate the 10,000 megawatts that our president has committed to build in the next few years. Chief Guest, I would mention at this point that as a player in the regional power pool, we have completed two major lines that have been able to support energy trade between Ethiopia and Kenya, and also between Kenya and Tanzania. We have 500 kilometers, 500 kV, almost 950 kilometers in Kenya, and equivalent of 400 in Ethiopia, that evacuates power from hydro plants in Ethiopia to Kenya, and also by extension, as said by Engineer Karungu, to our neighboring country, Tanzania. We finished almost 2 years ago. We finished completed and commissioned a line that connects Tanzania with Kenya, and that has seen a lot of energy exchange between our two countries, promoting regional trade and also improving our system reliability. In the recent past, Chief Guest, to align ourselves to the government priorities and the need to finish and complete projects on time, we have completed 4 projects in the last 4 months that have really transformed the energy sector in this country. We finished a line between Lesos and Kabarnet. We finished Mariakani substation, our Chief Guest, and this substation has been able to meet the aspiration of this country and our move towards 100% clean and renewable energy by 2030. Our substation in Mariakani that was commissioned late last year was able to reduce significantly the reliance.
Engineer Keboy, kindly wind up that seconds.
Okay,
kindly.
okay. I'll say that we are also happy, our chief guest, that in commitment to leverage on private public partnership, we signed our first project agreement with African 50 and Power Grid that sets up as the first PPP project in Africa. And this will go a long way in improving our financing for our projects. Chair, allow me to mention a few of our challenges. Is that KETRACO has a shrinking funding for projects, especially under government counterfeit funding. We've seen our allocation move from 4 billion to almost $500 million last year. We also have a huge brain drain in this in our company, Chair, mainly because of our staffing. We have staff that our HR instrument and our enumeration for our staff compared to our sister companies in this country seems to be lower than the other companies in the energy sector. And we request, Chair, that you support us. Our HR instrument has been presented to the PSC. We hope that SRC will approve for us so that we can improve morale and retain skilled staff in KETRACO. We also have a low buy-in of public-private partnership, which we hope to leverage for our projects. We also have challenges in whale leave acquisition and also funding for this whale leave. We owe our PUPs and people who gave us whale leave in the past almost 1.7 billion. We also have litigation issues that risk affecting operation in this company. Chair, we also have an issue with the board. We have 3 members of the board whose terms ended, and we wish and request, Chair, because it falls under your office, that you will help us renew the terms of the 3 board members whose term expired 2 months ago. Chair, as I conclude, I want to reiterate our commitment to live our vision of transforming life through a stable power grid in the region and beyond. By this, we shall work and
Thank you very much, Engineer Kibias, for your well-elaborate remarks. Kindly allow me now to usher in MD KPLC, Mr. Joseph Sirol, to do his 3-minute remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I will write on the protocols already established. And let me appreciate you, Head of Public Service, for the wonderful speech that your keynote speech that you gave us. Indeed, the fact that you recognize the efforts that we do, maybe in, across the entire country, is really something that really motivates our staff, because many other times they might feel that what they're actually doing is not being recognized. And the Head of Public Service in here are all my GMs, and I think there are 2 more who are actually following the proceedings through the virtual link. I want to also respond briefly on the challenges that you identified. It fully resonates with our efforts to deal with all these challenges, our Head of Public Service. Indeed, you mentioned quite a number of them, the issue of corruption and collusion. You did mention even the issue of the high energy costs. You talked about the issue even of culture. And here at Kenya Power and Lighting, we did recognize that this is one of our biggest challenges. And in this financial year, we began a culture change program with our internal one being Tusichome brand. We are running all our employees across the country for us not to choma the brand, because we have a great brand and we really want to protect that brand. But going outside, we address the members of the public and all the beneficiaries of our services on the slogan, Pamoja Twanga. On the issue of breaking institutional silos, our chief guest, we are really committed on this. And that is actually why whenever we speak, we don't only speak on behalf of Kenya Power. As the one who is the front facing in the entire sector, we always want to represent the entire sector. And that is what we have always done. We also really want to appreciate also the comments that was made by our peers. in terms of some of the challenges that we are currently facing, and specifically with the variable renewable energy, and the emphasis on us to invest on the kind of resources following the prudency that you actually recommended that we all follow, which is what we are so committed to, by rather promoting those kind of generations that will address the kind of challenges that we have as a country. For us to have more reliable, for us to have a grid security, there are a number of projects across the three areas, our chief guest, that is within the generation sector. We are really requesting for support in terms of the geothermal exploration, support of GDC with adequate resources, because we have a lot of capacity when it comes to geothermal in this country. We really need to harness it. It's the kind of power that will guarantee that we really have grid security and adequate power. And in that line also, the issue of conversion of steam at Paka and Silale. Of course, on the other issue, the issue of hydro, that is the kind of power that Kenya really needs. And the issue of Island Falls, we are really requesting for that to be fully funded. There is also another one for floating barge. And the reason why we are requesting for the floating barge to be supported, our chief guest, is the fact that from the presentation that was given by Secretary Electrical, that is Engineer Thomas Karungu, which really covered all the issues within the sector. One of the things that emerges is that our peak demand is increasing almost on a monthly basis. And when we look at the reserves that we have, there are points when the wind generation is too low, when we have to load shed part of the country. Of course, those parts of the country at times may call it rationing, others may think it's a normal outage. End of public service, the reason why at times we have to load shed is that we do not have adequate generation resources. And the only mechanism which we can guarantee for us to have adequacy is fast-tracking the floating barge, which I know our peers and the ministry is well seized of it. And we are just requesting for support in pushing that, so that in the priorities, we really know that the solution to ensuring that Kenya does not enter into a regime of load shedding for a greater part of the country is by funding this. On the transmission side, I know Kibias was cut short, but let me just support him by saying that Head of Public Service, we really need support in the transmission aspect. One of the great things that have happened in this country, which we really appreciate, is that there is a lot of lobbying and support in extending the last mile. And we really allowed the politicians, we allowed the government, we allowed all those who have really come to champion the expansion within the last mile space. But what has happened, Head of Public Service, is that the core thing that will support all that expansion is also investment in transmission. This is an area which is really needy, and I want to really request that KETRACO and investment in this particular space be increased so that we can have a more reliable grid. In fact, as a matter of fact, our chief guest, when we are dealing with the loss discussion, many are the times we think, or rather, we assume that it happens within the distribution and retail space. But investment in transmission is one of the key things that will ensure that this one is curtailed, or rather is reduced. Another issue also, even when it comes to grid security, Head of Public Service, there are many times, and maybe without sounding technical, when it comes to around midnight when the demand is low, as Karungu did mention, there are times we have to turn off certain lines, circuits within the country, which really compromises on the reliability of supply. And the reason why we do so is because of voltage levels. The voltage levels are too high. There are certain investments that need to be done within the transmission space. One of them being the implementation of a STATCOM in Suswa and another one in Rabai by KETRACO. These are initiatives that really need to be supported. We need a lot of ancillary services and support. And if this investment is not done, Head of Public Service, we may continue to expand, but we really risk collapsing the grid if adequate investment is not done within that particular transmission space. In fact, as we talk right now, we have a challenge. I know we have been discussing with Kibias in terms of the challenge that is currently obtaining in Suswa. We have an HVDC link which Kibias adequately presented, which is getting as far from a place called Walaita Sodo in Ethiopia, a distance of 1,033 kilometers. And this link is enabling us to get 200 megawatts from that country. Now, this is the challenge, our chief guest, that at the moment, it's only one pole out of two poles which are currently working. And given the high voltage situation that has stripped HVDC link 28 times this quarter alone, I want to emphasize that. It has stripped the HVDC link 28 times. And any of those strips has the potential of actually causing serious damage to that particular plant. And if that damage occurs, our chief guest, we will not only have massive load shedding in this country, but KPLC is going to be exposed to pay what is called deemed generated energy for the duration it will be out of service. So this is an area that we really feel KETRACO needs to be supported in engagement of Siemens, in engagement of all the players.
30 seconds,
I will comply with that. But on the issue, we really need support in this particular area because the risk exposure to the country is immense. Allow me to repeat that. The risk exposure in the country is immense if we do not ensure that the second pole in HVDC at Suswa is restored and also the ground electrode is sorted out. On the part of distribution and retail, we are doing our best to deal with that. And the area of support we require is, of course, combating vandalism. And we really appreciate the security agencies for the kind of support they have given us, combating issues of illegal connections and power theft, safety of our employees. We lost one employee last week, our chief guest, which is really a very sad situation. The employee was in his course of doing our duties, but when he went to execute, to check our installations, he was stopped severally. We did our attempt to even airlift him from Isiolo to Nairobi, but unfortunately, our chief guest, we lost him. This is an area where we really plead that KPLC requires support. Many are the times the public have seen us as enemies. We are working within a very constraining environment, and the challenges faced in the energy sector is not from KPLC alone. There are a lot of investment that need to be done in generation. There is investment that needs to be done in transmission. We are doing our best in distribution and retail, and that is why we are really making a rally call that KETRACO needs to be supported. We need to complete these projects. We need to invest in transmission. We need to undertake certain interventions so that for us to guarantee reliability, for us to guarantee quality of supply. And of course, support in warding off.
Dr. Sirol, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sirol. Thank you very much. I now wish to call upon Stephen Busienei from GDC.
Thank you very much, Director Alan. Our chief guest, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, kindly allow me to also ride on the established protocols. My name is Stephen Busienei, and today I speak on behalf of the family of Geothermal Development Company.
Mr. Busienei, kindly turn on your camera. We can't see you.
Okay. I think I've just give me a minute.
Fine, you can proceed as you work on the camera, kindly, in the interest of time.
Okay,
Proceed.
thank you very much. Yes, I'll proceed. So as started, Mr. Machari, I speak on behalf of a big family of 907 dedicated staff from Geothermal Development Company, staff who are serving the nation in some of the harshest conditions in this country. As we speak, Chief Guest, some of our staff are connecting from Paka Hills of Tiati, where temperatures of 39 degrees centigrade are ordinary. I would like to speak a little bit about GDC, our chief guest. GDC was established in 2008, so we are age mates alongside KETRACO. We established with a clear developmental mandate to undertake geothermal resource exploration. We also do a geothermal resource appraisal, and we develop geothermal prospects on behalf of the company. We then avail steam to KenGen. We also avail steam to independent power producers. And we then expect them to generate reliable, affordable geothermal energy for the country. There's always a question, sir, of why geothermal, and I would like to pick on three main reasons. Geothermal represents power security. Geothermal provides a 24/7 baseload power. Geothermal power is reliable, is drought-proof, and in these difficult times, sir, you also don't require any fuel in order to provide geothermal power. Geothermal power, secondly, is affordable. We are able to provide power to the grid at GDC at prices of between 0.07 to 0.09 US cents per kilowatt hour. We provide fixed cost structures, and I want to believe, sir, that this is why Engineer Siror has alluded to the fact that they would like and they would vote for GDC being supported. We have projects, sir, that also are able to provide energy to the grid, at clean energy to the grid. Geothermal power has zero emissions, and this has helped the country maintain climate leadership. Importantly, Chair, as also Mr. Siror had mentioned earlier, this country has huge potential, and we estimate that this country has potential of up to 10,000 megawatts, which is more than adequate for what we need currently, Chair. At GDC, we have been developing projects in 4 key areas. We have projects in Olkaria, Menengai, and Suswa, and the current one we also have is in Baringo, Sinali. Over the period, we have been able to develop up equivalent of 565 megawatts, and we have been able to convert 382 megawatts of that to power that is supported and supplied to the grid. So it is important to note that this 382 megawatts is equivalent to about 39% of the 795 megawatts of geothermal that the country currently enjoys. So we play a very important role in that space, Chair. But more importantly, GDC exists because the implementation of geothermal projects is a capital-intensive and risky investment, and therefore GDC exists to absorb exploration risk, and once that is taken away, we are able to attract private capital and project financing that we've been able to see. Indeed, our work in Menengai has been able to attract private capital of about 36 billion shillings. So GDC's role in the country is critical and supports the grid with reliable and affordable power. We have been operating for the last 18 years in difficult conditions. Some of the challenges that we are navigating through currently, one has been inadequate resourcing of our activities. We continue to work with the National Treasury, with the Ministry to see to it that we find innovative ways. And that would be one area that we would be seeking support. Engineer Siror has alluded to the fact that if GDC is supported, then the base load supply in the country and the power stability in our national grid would be enhanced. Chair, currently some of the other challenges that we are facing as GDC relate to our relationship with the communities where we live in. We operate in environments where we engage with the community. We operate in remote areas, but we also have the interplay of politics, the interplay of challenges of activism. And Chair, we've seen that being a challenge in Menengai. We've seen that being a challenge in Baringo. We do appreciate the support that we've received from the government, and we hope, sir, that this will continue to be the case. I want to speak, sir, to the theme of today, and to also say thank you very much, sir, for this opportunity. We also appreciate the guidance that we have received. And at GDC, we stand to be and ready to continue implementing our mandate of de-risking geothermal resources. We continue, sir, to continue working with the private sector to ensure that we mobilize capital for delivering a clean baseload power. Yes.
Busiene, we have a serious challenge with time. The head of public service is running short of time. We need to make executive summary. So kindly, Dr. Mkalama, Wabuyabu, and Dr. Okech, please prepare executive highlight summary of what the head of public service has mentioned, and 1 or 2 areas where you need support. Maximum 3 minutes, kindly. Thank you. Busiene, wind up.
Thank you very much, sir. I think I will wind up at that point and say thank you very much for this opportunity. GDC, we will continue to support the nation providing affordable energy. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen Busiene. I now call upon Rose Mkalama to make her remarks.
Good afternoon, and I'm going also to ride on the protocols that have already been observed. My name is Dr. Rose Mkalama. I am the CEO of REREC, and I will also observe the timelines that have been given by the PS. I will try to be brief. As you know, REREC, our responsibility is to ensure that we accelerate rural electrification, and we do so by extending electricity lines, and we also develop projects in areas that are far away from the grid. For us to be able to do this sustainably, we have taken advantage, and we have developed linkages with all the organizations within the sector. Allow me to just mention a few. For the ministry, of course, they guide us on matters of policy, matters of budget. For KPLC, for example, we do project implementation together. Once we finish our projects, we transfer the projects to them for purposes of O&M. And we have developed a very systematic service level agreement with them on how we are going to implement all our projects. Our engineers work together. We have a technical team, and this has really provided the technical support we require for our projects. We have also taken advantage of the KPLC training school, and this has created capacity that we so much need for our projects now and for the future for purposes of sustainability. We are very keen to work, and we work together with the KenGen and GDC for purposes of ensuring that we have the most required resources for purposes of us doing the last mile connectivity. We require enough generation. We require enough generation from GDC and from KenGen. And we also work very closely with KETRACO to ensure that we do the transmission. Listening to the MD of Kenya Power, it is critical that we get enough generation from KenGen, and that we can transmit this electricity for it to reach the last mile. We also work very closely with NUPEA. You know, it is important to develop capacity within the sector, because this is going to be creating our own homegrown human resource capacity within the sector. And we have done this by training our staff through some programs that come through NUPEA, and we have already developed some MOUs, and our staff have really benefited from that, and that's how we have also been able to develop the capacities. We are operating, as you know, in all the 290 constituencies. When we started in 2008, head of public service, we started at a connectivity level of 4%. And within the period we have been in existence, which is about 18 years, we have been able to achieve, together with Kenya Power, 76%, which I would call very good performance. This year, head of public service, we are going to be implementing about 1,800 projects across the 290 constituencies. And we are also implementing projects through COSAP in the 14 underserved counties, to ensure that even as we reach areas that have electricity, where we have the grid, we are also reaching areas that are far away from the grid, because every Kenyan has got a right to get electricity. But listening to today's presentation by the head of public service, I'm completing. REREC is committed to ensure that we accelerate rural electrification by harnessing the synergies that we have within the sector, to ensure that what we can be able to work with Kenya Power, with KETRACO, with KenGen, we harness our capacities so that we can make efficiency our primary goal in implementing our projects. As we do this, Chair, is that we shall ensure that there's equitable resource allocation and use, and we shall also be ensuring that as we implement our projects, we shall be guided by the laws, regulation, government policies, that we are going to be also looking at the circulars that are given to us from time to time, and we shall continue to collaborate with the agencies. We affirm our commitment as a corporation to support government programs, and we know that by the time we finish electrifying the rural communities, we shall have enhanced socio-economic transformation for our rural communities. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Mkalama. I now wish to invite Justus Wabuyabo from NUPEA.
Thank you very much. Head Chief Guest and Head of Public Service, Mr. Felix Kosgei, Chairman, Directors, my colleagues in the sector, good afternoon. Chair, I had a presentation of PowerPoint, but because of time, I will be very quick and make some statement. Chair, as you're aware, we stand at a very historic point in terms of nuclear, because for a long time we have been planning, but now we are at the stage where I can say that the time for implementation has arrived. If I was to have a title for my speech, I would have called it The Dawn of Kenya's Nuclear Era.
Mr. Wabuyabo.
Yes.
Kindly, your camera is not on. Your camera.
Is that it's on now, eh?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I was saying that if I was to have a title for my speech, I would have called it The Dawn of Kenya's Nuclear Era, the quickest route to Singapore. In terms of our achievements, Head of Public Service, Kenya has been implementing the nuclear program following the IAEA milestone approach. And recently, as you're aware, we had an international conference which was held at the end of last month, which was a monumental success and was graced by His Excellency. And we had over 500 delegates from 3 countries, a testament of the fact that the world is watching our progress with keen interest. Your Excellency, during his keynote address, His Excellency sent a very strong message that Kenya is ready for nuclear, and he have reaffirmed our commitment to the highest safety standards and emphasized that nuclear energy is going to be the lifeblood of our 10,000 megawatt target. Currently, your Head of Public Service, the government has designated KenGen as the first owner-operator of the first nuclear power plant, and we are going to be working with the KenGen to ensure that the project is delivered properly. During the conference, His Excellency mentioned about some of the things that will require to be done. One of them is in regard to the legal framework and international treaties. There are a number of treaties that are already in cabinet and will be following up with the office. Some of these are already scheduled to be tabled in cabinet so that we can have an appropriate legal framework that will support the nuclear program. Your Head of Public Service, as you are aware, with the direction of His Excellency, the first nuclear power plant will be sited in Siaya, and we are already carrying out activities to do that with the plan that we should have groundbreaking by 1st March of 2027, and the first nuclear power plant of 3,000 megawatts coming to the grid in 2034. This project is estimated to cost hundreds of billions of shillings. This is quite a significant scale-up funding, but we are saying that we will be pursuing blended financing models such as leveraging PPPs, climate finance, and support from development finance institutions. A good development is that now World Bank has unfrozen the ban on funding for nuclear, so we see great hope there. I want to assure you, Head of Public Service, that there's a lot of interest in this area, and we have seen a lot of investors showing interest in partnering with Kenya in delivering their project, specifically the United States, China, South Korea, Canada, and France. And their expression has gone beyond sharing of technology, but a willingness to support us with the putting into place finances. Your Excellency, in terms of how we can deliver this quickly, I always say that it will be very important that we as a country organize what I call a handshake between our president and a president of any of the countries that we are likely to partner with. Such that a meeting between our President Ruto and his counterparts in Washington, Beijing, Seoul, Ottawa, he will not just be talking diplomacy, but he will be accelerating the transfer of knowledge in a way that will ensure that we secure favorable financing terms and ensure that Kenya receives the most advanced and safest technology available. These president engagements will cut through years of red tape and will allow us to move at the speed of our national need rather than the speed of bureaucracy. Finally, Chief of Staff, I would like to say that the nuclear era for Kenya has begun, and the nuclear vision for our country is no longer a dream, it's a project with a deadline, and let us move forward with the same in unity and precision that brought us this far. We have the support of our president, the interest of global investors, and a clear path forward. Together, we will light up Kenya, and in doing so, we will power a prosperous industrial Kenya for generations to come. Before I sign off, Chief of Staff, let me just highlight something that I feel that this session is important. Currently, KenGen and NUPEA are in Kisumu undertaking a stakeholder initiative with the county leadership of Siaya. And it's very interesting that I met a very senior colleague from KenGen who was not very familiar with what we are doing. So this initiative, your Head of Public Service, is quite important because it will allow us to know one another, what we are doing, and how we can support each other to do the mandate that we have been assigned to us. Thank you very much. God bless you and God bless Kenya.
Thank you, Justus. I now wish to invite Joseph Okech from EPRA.
Thank you. Allow me also to ride on the protocols already established. And our chief guest, who is the Head of Public Service and Chief of Staff, may I first say that your speech has been inspiring and has a lot of guidance to us. Some of us, EPRA, we have gotten that we must communicate about our pump prices. And may I assure you, sir, that this one will start communicating with the citizens and the public in general immediately. At the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, we remain guided by the core principles of transparency, accountability, efficiency, and responsiveness to the citizens' needs. On implementing constitutional values, we recognize that public service is our public trust. Our role as a regulator is not only to enforce compliance, but also to ensure that the energy sector operates in a fair, transparent, and predictable manner for the benefit of Kenyans. We continue to strengthen regulatory frameworks, enhance compliance monitoring, and ensure that our decisions are anchored in law, evidence, and public interest. On improving performance and efficiency, sir, in line with the government's agenda on efficiency and optimal performance, we have enhanced our automation of licensing and compliance processes along our other services to improve the turnaround times. We have strengthened market monitoring systems for both petroleum and electricity subsectors. We have improved internal coordination and accountability mechanisms to support timely decision-making. These efforts are geared towards ensuring that regulation does not become a bottleneck, but an enabler to sector growth and investors' confidence. On providing premier services to the public, sir, We are particularly mindful that the services we regulate, especially energy, are critical to livelihoods, businesses, and national development. And as such, sir, we are enhancing public communication, which you yourself have stressed today that we must pick it on pump pricing, and also stakeholder engagement, especially on sensitive issues such as pricing. Strengthening consumer protection mechanisms to safeguard the interests of the wananchi, ensuring timely dissemination of accurate information to support informed public discourse. We are committed to delivering services that are not only efficient, but also people-centered, accessible, and responsive. In conclusion, sir, because I know time is not on our side, as we move forward, we reaffirm our commitment to working closely with the ministry, sector agencies, and all stakeholders to build an energy sector that is reliable, sustainable, transparent, and responsive to the needs of our citizens. Let us continue to uphold the highest standards of public service as we collectively drive national transformation. I may state here that we are available on the social media platforms as EPRA, and also our website is very interactive with information to the public and also to our stakeholders. God bless you all and God bless Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Let me also take this opportunity to thank the CEOs for your very informative remarks in this particular session. And I also wish to inform all participants that we are answering your questions, your concerns from the Q&A section. Most of them have been already answered, and the remaining ones we shall answer them, and then we shall send them back to you for feedback. At this juncture, at the interest of time, allow me to call upon the Principal Secretary, State Department for Energy, Mr. Alex Wachira, to guide us on the next program. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan, for those remarks. Indeed, let me say that this has been a very productive session that you have had. And at this point, we shall not be able to run the plenary session because we already constrained of time. It is 5:20 as it is now, and this program was supposed to run until 4:50. So allow us not to run the plenary session, but we shall be able to respond to all the critical questions that have been asked. Let me just highlight a few issues, though I want to commend my MDs. All of you have done exemplary well, in spite of the fact that we had to cut short most of you. And let me highlight some of the issues that have been raised. One is the issue of breaking the silos, and that is something that we have spoken about, but this needs to be enhanced, and the head of public service did talk about it. We need to break the silos. We need to ensure seamless relationship from generation, transmission to distribution. For example, we need to ensure that REREC lines, KPLC lines are done to standard and they are commissioned in time. The connection between KPLC, REREC needs to be seamless. KPLC, KETRACO on transmission. We need to think of the grid as one. It is one grid serving all Kenyans. There is no KETRACO, there is no KPLC. At the end of the day, the most important person is the Kenyan that we are having. And so therefore, that needs to be done, and we need to ensure that we bring on board culture change across all our sectors and bring that harmony. I'm happy the relationship that the two MDs of KETRACO and KPLC have brought on board, which is very good. Let's carry on. I want to urge the management on either side to carry on, and we cascade all the way to the cleaners, to the lowest cadre in all the organizations. GBC, KenGen, whoever can be able to drill, let them drill. Whichever field is available for any party, let that party allow each other to drill. And for us, at the end of the day, what we're interested in is having power into the grid. There is an issue that the head of public service did talk about, and this is something that the CEOs, head of departments must look at, and where we should be able to avoid, let us avoid the zero fault audit. This needs not to be belabored. It is something that we need to have. It is something that we need to work towards collectively towards achieving this. It is my hope that this financial year, 2025-2026, we shall all get clean audit reports, and that is the essence of having the zero fault audit. Let us work towards having that. Lastly, before I ask the head of public service to come in and give us his closing remarks, is to salute the sector, to salute all of you. The head of public service did mention it in his speech, from the person in Kamburu, to the person in Lake Turkana, to the person in Takwe, to that person in Paka and Silati, to that person who is braving the rain, to that person who is in the SCADA in the National Control Center and spending the public holiday and Sundays there. We salute you. Nyinyi ni mashujaa. Let us continue serving Kenyans. To our areas of focus this financial year and moving forward, we are so much committed towards the increasing generation. This is something that we have spoken about, from geothermal to hydro. Hydro, we are working on Karura, we are working on High Grand Falls Dam and all the small hydros, to the floating birds. And we are hoping that we should be able to close the floating birds within the next 2-3 months, so that by the end of this year, we should have at least 300 megawatts LNG at the coast, to battery energy storage, so that we can be able to have store the excess power that we do have during the night, to the STATCOMs. And lastly, on Friday, we are hoping to have a meeting, Ketraco and Siemens, so that we can close in on the issue of Suswa and the bipolar operations for the Ethiopia-Kenya line. So, team, head of public service, for us is to remain committed. You have given us the guidelines, and then our main focus is serving Kenyans and empowering them and ensuring that the bottom-up economic transformation agenda is achieved. With those few remarks, Chair and Head of Public Service, it is my singular duty and honor to welcome you so that you can make your closing remarks. And thank you for, we are sorry for the time that you have taken, and we thank you for the sacrifice that you have given. And most important is for the direction that you have given and the service that you're doing to Kenyans. We don't take that for granted. May God bless you. May God give you a lot of wisdom as you guide and steer us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, PS. All the participants of this meeting today, I want to thank you for staying put since the time we started at 2:30. That's become a very serious conference because it looks like there are issues that various stakeholders, various institutions want to share on this platform. I think next time we shall get enough time, and then we get more organized so that we can allow each and every institution to do the presentation and to show us the link between the institution and others, how can they work in synergy and the rest. I want to close really by thanking all of you, by saying that, as I stated earlier, that you have worked very hard. You have stretched to the limit. We know that the physical space is limited. Issues of financing, funding projects, and the rest is a challenge. But in all this, we need to ensure that we focus, we train our eye on efficiency. We train our eye on effectiveness, and we train our eye on accountability, integrity, and transparency, so that whatever little we have, we maximize its use, we get support from our customers, from our stakeholders, and therefore it will be even more easy even to source for additional funds or get friends that can finance this sector. I have already listed 7 concerns, right from corruption, conflict of interest, weak enforcement of accountability, deliberate delays and rent seeking, manipulation of systems and data, poor internal controls and oversight, and lack of ownership and responsibility. I think that is a take-home assignment. Each and every CEO, each and every chairman and board members to go back and reflect and see how they can tackle those 7 and others that you may add to enable you to clean up your institution and to make each and every one of your staff to realize what a critical role, how important he is, how critical he is in this transformation that we are in now. I want also to urge all of us, let us have conversations with our staff. Let us sit down. Let us even use the technology to be talking frequently for more often, so that we lay bare whatever challenges that we are facing, whatever concerns that we have on them, whatever improvement that we want them to do, whatever commendation that we want to give for doing a very good job, and therefore it will enable the entire sector and the government to work as one, to understand each other, and to align in order to maximize the resources and at the same time deliver services to the citizens. I have also listed about 8 expectations that we really expect you people to work on. I want us to really go and reflect and try to see how you can make citizens to be at the center of your planning, of your routine job, of your administrative assignments, or even deploying whatever resources that you have. Every other day, every other minute, remember that we are here to serve the people of Kenya. We are here to serve even that person, the indigent in that village. We are there for them, and they are our bosses, and we have to serve them. I want also to request and to still emphasize that we need to look at our values, and therefore we reinforce our values and professional standards. Let us see integrity running through the veins of these institutions. Let us see accountability being acknowledged. Let us see professionalism being praised, efficiency being acknowledged, and responsiveness being praised still by members of the public. So that as we are doing whatever we are doing, we are carrying along the citizens, and we are doing what we were trained in and what we are expected of. And we talked about mindset and attitude transformation. We want to see people changing their minds. If at all they have to be taken for training, please, PS, organize and make sure that you provide even funds for these people to be trained. Issues of working together, breaking institutional silos is another issue. There was an issue between Getraco and Kenya Power, fighting. There are some of you who fight to the extent of going to court using proxies. It should not happen. We need to break institutional silos. We need to talk to each other. We need to sit in a boardroom and argue until we agree. We need to see brotherhood. We need to see sisterhood, and we want to see people who are focused on efficiency, not fighting for their turfs, fighting for their space, fighting for their kingdoms, expansion of what they think is theirs, but not realizing that we are here on temporary terms. We are transient, we are moving. Others were there, and others are here now. So let us make use of the time that we have. Let us stretch the privilege that the people of Kenya have given us to ensure that we serve them well and we make each and every effort for us to come together and align. I want also to still encourage you to look at the resources of your institution and by extension government and manage it like your own, utilizing them efficiently, being transparent even in handling resources. Resources is everything, whether they are materials, whether they are vehicles, whether they are even human resource. Let us be very prudent in managing resources. We are doing this because you can see how KRA is struggling, how Treasury is struggling in terms of trying to raise funds for our projects. So let us make sure that whatever we have in our hands, we manage it very well. We see results that we can say, yes, these monies that we got, these funds, these resources that we have maximized, or we have maximized its production, and we are now at the stage of really applauding ourselves on that line. Finally, I think we need to be innovative also, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes I can see lines being constructed for 20 kilometers, for 15 kilometers, taking millions of shillings. I've been wondering, Kenya is, we are the equator. It is sunny all over. Why don't we think of even using solar in those isolated villages? In any case, those villages, the power that they want is only lighting. They want to use it in the evening, and they want to perhaps to power the radio there, but there are no heavy projects. Why don't we think, Kenya Power should think, and REDEC should think of sometimes giving these customers alternatives to see whether we can even install solar in these homes where they only want lighting. They don't have industries. They are not even using any equipment. And therefore, it will save a lot of time. It will save a lot of resources, and it actually even save a lot of monies thrown into buying way leaves and following very complicated constructions, materials, etc. Let us think, let us be innovative. That is one approach of innovation, but you have so many innovations. Let us think, let us stretch our minds, let us make ourselves be people who at every other time, every other minute is thinking on how to improve the welfare of our people, how to maximize the resources that we have, and how to turn around and transform the country to be a better country. We are moving from third world country to first world country, and we want to see it in our lifetime. How do we do it? It is all of us, all the CEOs, all the directors below them, all the accountants, everybody up to the last person in your institution that should do what they are expected to do diligently, efficiently, and effectively, with full of accountability, to ensure that the total sum of all that we are doing, it will be a contribution to the transformation. So otherwise, I want to urge all of us, let us go back to our offices and let us reflect and let us see changes going forward, because we have to. In any case, you have seen the kind of cleaning that the government is trying to do. You saw it started from roads. It has gone to several other areas. It has come to energy. And the only reason as to why we are now trying to ensure that we have people who are committed, people who are accountable, is because we want to move. We want to really have to hasten our pace towards first world. So I want all of us to be part of the team that dreams, that believes in this journey, and let us make our country great. Thank you very much, and have a very nice evening.
Thank you very much, our chief guest. Thank you very much, our peers. At this juncture, allow me to call upon Jafar Bashir to close with to say a closing prayer. Jafar.
Let's pray. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. All praise is due to you, O Allah, the Lord of the world. We thank you for granting us the opportunity to gather here today in unity, purpose, and service. O Allah, we seek your blessing upon this meeting and all that has been discussed. Grant success, wisdom, and sincerity to our leader, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, our peers, board chairs, CEOs, and all those entrusted with responsibility in the State Department for Energy. Oh Allah, guide them to make decisions that are just, beneficial, and pleasing to you. Grant them clarity of thought, strength in leadership, and integrity in their duties. Make their efforts a source of progress, prosperity, and positive impact for our nation and its people. Oh Allah, bless all participants of this meeting, reward their intentions, accept their contribution, and unite their hearts in cooperation and understanding. Remove any difference among us and replace it with harmony, respect, and shared purpose. Oh Allah, as we conclude, we entrust all our plans and resolutions to you. Put blessings in them, make them easy to implement, and let them yield fruitful outcomes. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Ameen. Thank you.
Thank you all and have a good evening.